You never know when you get on a roll.
Let's take a look at our one-on-one, and for that, we'll take a look at these two clubs and their season recaps. This is the third meeting between these two clubs. Of course, this was a South Carolina lost both games to Auburn back on February 5th and February 26th, with Chris Denson and KT Harold 50 points in that game back on February 5th, a dynamic scoring duo. Well, as we take a look at our South Carolina starting lineup, it'll be Brenton Williams, the senior, who's had a hot hand of late. So Darius Thornwell, one of the best freshmen, not only in this league, but in the country. Carrera, Kachinas, and Henry round out the starting five for South Carolina. Meanwhile, for the Auburn Tigers, they've got that duo we talked about, KT Harold and Chris Denson. They get it done in the backcourt. A couple of seniors in Denson and Payne. Hassan Dixon Tatum, another senior, can be a presence in the middle tonight against South Carolina. So we are just about set. Our officials tonight, good crew. Tony Green, Joe Lindsay, and Antonio Petty, and we are underway. Auburn at 14-15 against South Carolina. 5-13 in the conference are the Gamecocks.
South Carolina opened up man-to-man defense in both losses. To Auburn, they had a hard time containing Denson, which most clubs do, but he was explosive. Over 20 in both ball games.
Here's Payne, takes it right to the basket. Alan Payne, the senior, out of Cincinnati, averaging just shy of 8 a game.
The focal point, obviously, defensively for Auburn will be to contain Williams. He's a great jump shooter. Makes over 43% of his threes.
Denson doing what he does, gets in the lane. South Carolina averaging 68 points a game, 10th in the conference. And certainly a number that Coach Frank Martin would like to see increase. Said it was a tough day last weekend when he wasn't allowed to coach his team. Had some behavior issues on the bench in a second-to-last game of the season. Talking to Demetrius Henry on the sidelines. And the university felt like a one-game suspension was warranted. Said he had to spend the day. Didn't want to watch the game. It was a little too tough, so he went to his girls' basketball game, hung out with his family, but glad to be back with his team.
Yeah, not easy to watch as a coach, and so he didn't. But he's back. I don't think it surprised anybody. He's an emotional guy. He coaches. He's a tough coach. Players, though, I've watched him at Kansas State and at South Carolina. Players like playing for him. He demands a lot. And his job when South Carolina searched for him to take the job was to change the culture of what was going on in South Carolina basketball. And slowly but surely, he'll probably get it done.
Well, here's what he had to say about the incident. I screwed up. I'm not perfect. I've got issues. I've got to work through them. I work my problems every day. I've got to get better, and I'm still not where I need to be. I reported to Jeff Goodman, who was with us, working the sidelines tonight here inside the Georgia Dome. But certainly, I think Frank Martin feels bad about what happened, but wants to put it behind him and move forward. Thornwell shot off the mark.
What you don't want Frank Martin to lose is the passion and how he coaches, how intense he is. Obviously, communication skills, you can leave a couple of them and be done with. Auburn's got to be physical in this ballgame. They must rebound. If they don't, they'll be in trouble. The South Carolina team is aggressive. At times, they don't shoot it well enough.
Long possession for the Gamecocks.
Can't let him on.
There's a three by Williams, knocks it down. Brenton averaging 15 points a game. He's 11th in the conference in scoring.
43% beyond the three-point line, a 95% free throw shooter.
Time to take a look at our principal financial group edge to the game. For that, we'll break it down this way.
Well, let's go back to South Carolina. Offensive efficiency. 5 of the last 8 ball games, they've been under 40%. They must contain Denson. He's been explosive. And for South Carolina, they've got to get Denson to be aggressive and attack. And they've got to be physical like that around the rim. They must rebound.
Hassan Dixon Tatum with the follow slam. Thornwell back the other way. And there is Dixon Tatum with the block shot. He's 4th in the conference in that with 58 blocks on the year.
Taking care of the basketball, defending the rim. A couple things that Frank Martin will address in a timeout. They've been beaten to the rim a couple times. Hey, the one thing about this matchup is both teams like to get up and down the floor. They will both push and try to find easy baskets in the transition.
Here is Denson. Loves to get to the free throw line.
2
258 trips.
We've talked about it before, but he's an unbelievable, just under 20 points a game, and is not a great outside shooter, so rare for a 6'2 guard.
A tripping foul against Carrera. That'll be his first.
First personal foul, team foul number 1.
Auburn off to a good start, leading 6-3.
Auburn, one of those teams, again, that has struggled winning games, but no one's surprised when they play well because of the explosiveness of their guards.
Thornwell shields off, gets in, and gets the layup.
Interception by Carrera, and then he threw it out ahead, but Thornwell made a terrific play. Shielded the defender away, then took it, laid it in. Thornwell, what a fantastic freshman season he's had.
6'5", freshman guard. Lancaster, South Carolina. Boy, Shamsuddin looked like he got hit on the three. No whistle. Will continue to play on. Carrera back the other way. Lowers that shoulder. Let's see what the call is. Tony Green on the baseline will say offensive foul. That'll be the second on Carrera.
If there is a weakness in this young man's game, is it's his ability to control emotions and control sometimes his aggressiveness, whether it's defensively or offensively. Attacks. He at times does not have his head up and his body in control, and will pick up a lot of charges.
Here's Denson. Gets it to Harold in the corner. Working on Dwayne Notice. That'll take us to our under 16 timeout. The foul on Henry. 15:45 to go in this one. Auburn in the first half leads it 6-5. Been asked a lot lately about his thoughts on his job down the road. He continues to say, I'm just looking at the game in front of me. I'm not really worried about that. And that's, I guess, the approach you got to take at this time of the year. But it's been a struggle this year. There was a time when Auburn kind of got it going right in the middle of the season. Had some close games. They just couldn't get over the hump, including one down in Gainesville earlier this year.
Well, you think about the teams in the bottom of any league, and it comes down to sometimes possessions, efficiency, a defensive stop here or there, and many of these teams in this league are in the same spot.
Right.
Good teams, solid. They just couldn't get a bucket or couldn't get a stop at a certain time. And Tony's squad is in the same, boat as the rest of the ones at the bottom. Consistency, and every coach is looking for that from their personnel that's on the floor. They're trying to find it.
Tapped around, thrown out of bounds. Dwayne Notice moved as the pass was coming his way. That'll be the 6th turnover for South Carolina. They are last in the conference and holding on to the basketball, over 14 turnovers per game.
Well, that's the killer. When you telegraph passes, it allowed Denson to get his hand in there to be the help defense. And Henry simply tipped it where he thought his teammate was, but wasn't. A 1-3-1 zone defense now by South Carolina. Keep an eye on KT Harold, outstanding outside shooter, and loves it when he sees the zone.
Shamsuddin, nice pass inside to Payne, can't convert. Here comes Notice out of the pack.
And the simplicity of basketball is you must finish when you have a chance. And a great pass, you have a guy 3 feet from the hoop, got to make that bucket. Well executed. When South Carolina gets stagnant on the offensive end, if they quit moving, Auburn is a terrific team that can defend it. They're quick enough. You've got to continue your moves and your cuts.
Thornwell off the back of the rim. Long rebound to Notice. Kicks it back out to Williams. That won't go. Williams already has 1 3 tonight. Here's Denson. Inside to Dixon Tatum. Little jump hook, too strong.
I love the matchup with Thornwell guarding Denson. At 6'5", he can, by length, all he wants to do is keep Denson in front of him and make him try to score over him. And Chris Denson doesn't want to go over you. He wants to go around you, attacking the rim.
Demetrius Henry gets that basket. Averaging 4 points a game. Another one of those freshmen. Only one senior on this South Carolina roster, Brent Williams. I mean, everybody else is a freshman or sophomore. Well, that was dead on for KT Harold the moment it left his hand.
And deep, and I'm trying to think what Notice was thinking when you're in this zone defense. There's the one guy that you want to match up that KT Harold can flat out stroke it, and that was extremely deep, but you let him get his feet set, eyes were set, and he kind of just waited until he wanted to shoot it.
Auburn leads by 4. And another South Carolina turnover on the moving screen.
Look how deep, and really the hands are down defensively, and this is easy for a shooter. A good shooter's just lining up, and I think Harold first looked at it and thought, he's not going to let me take this, is he? And Notice never got closer. Why not knock it in?
Oh, a huge screen. Alan Payne knocked Thornwell to the deck. Everybody scrambled back. 13:05 to go first half.
And in this zone defense, if the hands are down, a guy like Harold will smile about it, because you're too late to get the hands up to a shooter when he's already going to shoot it. Hands have to be there early to a shooter so that it detracts him from thinking about it.
5 team fouls now against South Carolina as Williams picked up that personal. Shamsuddin around the perimeter to Denson. Took an extra step. Auburn will give it right back to South Carolina.
A little anxious. As we mentioned with Denson, nearly 20 points a ball game. He does not like settling for jump shots, and so he usually on the move, he catches the ball. He's one of the best at meeting a pass and having a step into that pass as he's turning the corner.
So Denson will take a seat on that Auburn bench for a moment as Dion Wade, freshman out of Antwerp, Belgium, at 6'5", steps onto the Georgia Dome court for the first time.
Plenty of solid freshmen in this league, and let's not even mention all the Kentucky guys. But they are up and down this rosters of this league. Very good. I think Wade's going to be a good one.
Rebound to Payne, gets it to Shamsuddin, another one of those freshmen we're talking about out of Decatur, Georgia.
Started every ball game as a point guard. Hard to do.
The left-hander will launch the 3, too strong. Wayne Notice. Attaway will pick up the foul. Well, the most storied conference in college athletics will live on a new network as tradition has found a new home. It's the SEC Network, launching in August of 2014. For more information, be sure to go to getsecnetwork.com. Getting airborne August 14th. It is just around the corner. Of course, announcement today that Brent Musburger, Jesse Palmer will take over the main game on the SEC Network, which will feature 2 outstanding teams every weekend on the network. One of 3 games coming your way. Hard to believe that it's just around the corner. Here's Notice. Man at the center of that Frank Martin controversy last week. Now Steele checks in, getting some action. Number 35 for South Carolina.
Notice another freshman. Not expected to play big minutes this season, but when you lose point guard, when Bruce Ellington decided it was time for the NFL instead of playing basketball, and you lose Tyrone Johnson to an injury in January.
Good save by Desmond Ringer.
Nice.
Williams, Notice. A little contact, couldn't get it to finish. Kevicius can't get it to go. And Kevicius stays with it. Steele will try to save it. Does so to Williams.
Boy, good hustle. Look at that. What a bucket. What a play by South Carolina. A lot of moving bodies. Ball looked like it was out of bounds. Could have been past half court. Save, pass, layup. Again, hands are down for South Carolina, especially the shooters. Harold will take it as quickly as you can catch it.
You know, this is a situation without Denson on the floor. Who's going to be that third scorer? And I just don't see a whole lot of offensive production, and we haven't really seen it all year from anybody else other than Harold on the floor right now.
Spotty, hit or miss between which guys can get buckets for you.
Notice. Steps back. Buries a 3.
Nice stroke, gave him a little room. 30% three-point shooter, so he's made his share this season.
Notice coming off 6 points, 6 rebounds against Mississippi State. First lead of the game right now for South Carolina. Wade out of the corner. His 3 is good, and you can count it. A foul on Desmond Ringer and a 4-point opportunity coming up for the Gamecocks. Excuse me, for the Auburn Tigers. As we have a timeout on the floor. And just as South Carolina got a little mojo, Gamecocks answer back. Timeout on the floor. Now we've talked about Chris Denson, KT Harold, the Auburn Tigers. There's a look at Hassan Dixon Tatum. Another one of those seniors, but really Denson and Harold are the guys, man. When you start looking at the numbers, it has been outstanding for these two guys as a combination.
And when they get it going together in certain ball games, they are tough to stop. They are two size-wise similar players, but they play differently in that backcourt. We mentioned Denson loves to get to the rim. Harold's got a combination, a deadly outside shooter, but he can put it on the floor. He's physical enough to finish at the rim. But I think most coaches that play against Denman and try to guard Denman are always amazed. Denson, I'm sorry, not Denman, I'm sorry. Denson. They're always amazed at his ability to score points. His ability to get through guys, to finish at the rim, and you said it earlier, Dave, the ability to get to the foul line.
It's amazing. You know he's going left, but you can't stop it.
Can't stop it. Well, but here's someone will say shade him and make him go right. But let's say you give him a half step. Well, now step and a half because he's too fast.
Right.
So no matter, even if a coach says you've got to force him a little bit right. Once you've turned your body, he's gone right, and now he crosses back left.
Errant pass. It'll go to South Carolina. Denson and Harold. They are the sixth highest scoring combo in the country. But I think when you look at the numbers, they account for over 52% of their team's points. You got to have a third guy.
Got to have a third guy. You're right. That's why you don't get some of the wins you need to have. Most defenses can try to contain the two. It's hard to stop three. Matchup zone now by Auburn. Have to get to Brenton Williams. He is terrific from the outside. Thornwell can shoot it. Really good at putting it on the floor.
Thornwell's kind of that combo guard, can run point and play off at the wing at 6'5".
Great size. Great size.
Shot clock down to 1. How about Dwayne Notice?
Second three of the first half.
That is 6 points, averaging 7 on the year. There's a block shot from Desmond Ringer, back the other way. Here goes Notice. Lost the handle, but a foul on the Auburn Tigers will send Dwayne to the free throw line.
Well, the matchup zone defense, and a few possessions ago they didn't pick up Notice, and you knocked one in, and that's a confidence check. Popped out, shot clock is running down. It makes it easier for a guy to catch and release. We mentioned as a freshman, they brought him in, knew he would play minutes, but not as many as becoming a starter and carrying the load.
KT Harold back on the floor.
Back in mid-January when Tyrone Johnson went down as the lead point guard, all of a sudden you kind of had to, Frank Martin had to change offense. A whole different thought process of how they wanted to run the show and play. Not easy.
Another foul on Auburn. That'll go against Payne. That'll be his first. Hey, you watch Frank Martin run a practice. It is a disciplined, well-oiled machine. I mean, it's fun to go watch him. If you love basketball, you learn a lot being around his practices. I was in South Carolina when they brought back some of the greatest players that have ever played and put on the Gamecock uniform, and they were all sitting around watching practice. And after a few minutes, the discussion became, man, this is guys were enjoying it, you know.
Yeah. You know, I played for a tough guy, Norm Stewart.
Yes.
And the thing about what most people don't understand is coaches coach to teach so that players, when they're in pressure situations, when they can't hear things and things get fuzzy, they can handle it. And if they can't get your attention, they may raise their voice. They may say a word or two that doesn't sound proper, but most of the time necessary. And when teams get as tough as a tough head coach, then they win ball games, especially on the road.
Boy, good defensive stand there by South Carolina.
Thornwell's been kind of quiet so far this first half. They've bottled him up a little bit. He's got to be a little more, have more movement on the offensive end, and then try to create something. Nice.
Ringer left it short. There's Dixon Tatum with another block shot, his second tonight. NC Harold.
That's the presence of the 7-footer.
Denson, count it.
Basket by Chris Denson.
So Denson to the free throw line. That foul on notice.
Well, you've said this combination all season long, Harold to Denson or Denson to Harold, and this time Harold brought it down, stopped, was probably shocked that Denson was so closely following him. Most guards would flare out for that jump shot, but we've already talked about it. He loves to get to that rim, get to the angles that he can finish.
First basket for Chris Denson, and now needs 6 points to pass Charles Barkley for 23rd in Auburn's scoring history.
Williams. Shot clock back down to 6.
Second time in the last couple of possessions. South Carolina's had to kind of throw one up late. Last time, this guy hit it for 3, and he did it again.
Well, he had 15 threes makes on the season. He's 3 for 3 tonight. 2 of them when the shot clock's winding down. I would guess that's offensive efficiency. Sure. Make a team guard for 34.5 seconds and put a 3 in their eye and say, okay, let's do it again.
That is 10 points now for Notice. Also has 3 rebounds. That's off the mark. Dixon Tatum battling Ringer underneath. They're going to say a foul on Ringer. And that'll get us to an under 8 media timeout. Tony Barbie will speak with Jeff Goodman when we come back. 21.
Tony, Chris Denson finally gets his first basket a couple minutes ago. What do you have to do to get him going?
Well, we got to set more screens for him with those guys playing hard tonight on Chris and KT. But it's not our offense that's hurting us. It's our defense. We've done a pretty good job on Williams and Thornwell. Now all of a sudden, Notice, who had known as the shooters, made 3 on us. That's a concern right now.
Defense also rebounding a little bit of an issue right now.
7 offensive rebounds. That's what South Carolina does. It's what we've talked about. And right now, we're not defending our defensive backboard very well.
Thanks, Tony. Good luck.
When you look at Auburn tonight, Chris Denson just 2 points, but averaged 23.5 in the 2 wins over South Carolina. You look at this Auburn team. They've had those moments where they've looked pretty good on the floor. They'll go 25, 30 minutes. Tony Barbie has said it time and time again this year. They've got to figure out a way to close games out. They have the last 5 minutes, they have been in just about every contest with the exception of a couple.
Well, think how the game has gone. Defensively, they've been pretty good except those threes at the shot clock buzzer. If those are misses, Auburn is a team that when they gather the ball and push, it allows avenues and lanes for Denson to get better looks for himself, which then opens their game up and Harold can run spot up and shoot it. If they get stuck in a half-court set, South Carolina gets to set their defense. They're physical, they bump you, they trap you, and all of a sudden the avenues and lanes aren't open for Denson and they can get to Harold more quickly. They've only got 5 attempts between the 2 of them, let alone only 2 make. They don't have many attempts or looks.
Here's Notice.
South Carolina has made Auburn defend for quite a few seconds on this end.
Kevicius just picks up the moving screen. That'll be his first, and he was kind of complaining to his teammate, let me get set before you start coming around the corner.
That wasn't his fault. He didn't get there in time, and once the dribbler takes off, you might as well pull up, but you're supposed to set that screen.
There's Denson, 1 of 2 from the field. Trying to find a little bit of room to work. We'll get it to KT Harold. Harold's 1 out of 3.
And Thornwell is a matchup on Denson's got 3 inches on it.
Harold knocks home the 3.
Pretty shot, pretty form, good release. Shoots it with confidence.
Transfer out of Virginia. Just a junior. Now with 65 threes on the year. There's another offensive rebound. Brenton Williams at 5'11" sneaks in there to get that. That is the 9th offensive rebound of the first half for South Carolina as Denson picks up the personal.
And what you want Williams to do, if you're a defender, you want him to put it on the floor. Make him finish around the rim because of his size and his ability to make threes. They did that. But the activity of South Carolina to keep the ball alive, Williams is underneath there. He gets the rebound. He's the 9th offensive for this. And here's a kid that's at 95% from the free throw line. Wow.
It's John Sunvold type numbers right there.
I couldn't touch that number. That's not only being a great shooter, but having the mindset every time. You know, you don't get to take a possession off or a free throw off. To know you're going to make it every time he gets to the line.
What about these big buildings? Speaking of shooting, I mean, as a shooter, do you have to kind of adjust when you come into a building this size?
Well, the great thing is the backdrops are not good. This is like playing outside a little bit, even though it is curtained. And the domes I played in, especially in the NBA, you just didn't like playing as a shooter, but you get used to it. That's why they practiced yesterday.
Notice, strong move to the basket. Good defense from South Carolina creates the turnover. A little bit of offense. And the Gamecocks get the layup, and they now lead it by 6. That is a dozen points for Dwayne Notice.
Active hands, shoot the gap, and South Carolina guys are running. And the guys in the white jerseys not running back and getting back into play because that wasn't as though it was a steal. Cleanly. It was knocked away, and it's the ability to get back and run, and that's why the timeout.
Time now for the C Spire conference call. And when you look at our brackets, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State coming up next. You see the 4 teams on the right of your screen. All get the double bye Friday. They will debut the #1 team in the country, the Florida Gators, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Georgia.
And I know our guys talked about it. Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, LSU, all the teams they talk about the bubble. Did they all forget, not our guys, but did all the experts forget about what Georgia has done? Do you only have to play the game now in November, December? Is that it? Is that all they do?
There was so much talk about non-conference scheduling. Georgia played a pretty good non-conference schedule. They just lost it.
How about if you just get good?
Right.
How about if you get to where you're really a pretty good team? And they say, well, you weren't very good in November. Well, wait a second. This is called March Madness. Mark Fox has done a fabulous job. And I know this was not a good team way back when.
You know, you look at their RPI and their BPI, certainly out of the mix. But you know, so much is now numbers. It seems like it's all about numbers. And you're right. I mean, isn't the whole point to try to get your team better and get ready for March? And Georgia finishes tied for 2nd in this conference, and they get the 3rd seed. They lose a tiebreaker to Kentucky, but regardless, I mean, 12-6.
Well, they went on the road the last game of the season and won at LSU.
Yeah, I was there. They were awesome.
How tough is that place to beat that team? And so, not getting their due, they're a team not mentioned, and I hope they do some special things this weekend because I think it's a pretty good ball club.
Kevicius in the corner to Williams. He is wide open for 3, and
what a well-designed possession against a press. You put your best shooter down in the corner, and teammates find him and handled well.
Biggest lead of the game right now is 7 for South Carolina. Williams now with 8 points. He's hit a couple of 3-pointers. By Dixon Tatum, but the problem was he was moving, and Thornwell hit the deck. And Auburn to give it right back to South Carolina. That'll be the first on Dixon Tatum. South Carolina has hit 5 of 8 3-pointers here in the opening half. You look at the numbers for South Carolina, it kind of is bizarre when you look at they're shooting 43% inside the arc, but you step outside the arc, the 2nd best percentage in the conference.
It's a hard number to figure out unless you dig it. And I'll tell you what, the 2 guys in conference play that take 68% of those threes, Williams being one at 43%, Thornwell at 38% the other. So they take 68% of them. So what that means on that offensive end, they can be efficient at times and get it to the right guys with the right shots. They are not a highly skilled shooting team, and so the 2-pointers become much more difficult as other guys take the shots.
Thank you for that breakdown.
Digging deep.
That's what I'm saying. Give you some stat sheets, and
you throw at me something, you say, well, how could someone be better 3 than 2?
You've got the answer. I like it. Speaking of 2, that's 2 fouls on Chris Denson. That is not good news for Auburn, as the conference's second leading scorer heads to the bench.
South Carolina has been changing defenses. They've been mostly man. We've seen them in the 1-3-1. Switching back and forth, and again, the challenges. Good matchup there again. Now Thornwell's guarding Harold. Junior versus freshman, redshirt junior, that is. So should be able to find some avenues and ideas. Play a few years, you think you can take some good.
There's Canada. Kicks it back out to KT Harold. 5 on the shot clock. Dixon Tatum spins 2. Dion Wade at the horn. Hit the front of the rim. Good rebound from Jordan Granger in another possession for the Tigers.
Okay, Dixon Tatum, if he takes a step to that pass, Harold put it right on the money. It's a dunk. You know what I mean? He curls, makes the pass. They got the shot before the buzzer, but could have had a dunk.
South Carolina off to a good start. They lead it by 9. When we come back, hit by 9. Jeff Goodman had a chance to catch up with South Carolina head coach Frank Goodman. Frank Martin.
Frank, your defense in Darius Thornwell's done a great job so far defensively on Denson. What do you think of the job he's done?
We've been pretty good on the perimeter defensively. We can't get rebounds. It's killing us right now, our inability to grab a defensive rebound. Our bigs have more fouls than rebounds. It's hard to win, but I'm proud of the effort that we're playing with.
You're on a 9-2 run over the last couple minutes. What's been the key?
Well, offensively, whenever we get stops, offensively, we're running our offense and getting the shots. More importantly, we're making shots. But we just got to stay the course. We got to stop fouling.
Thanks, Frank.
Well, John, he mentions rebounds, and they're +7 in the rebound department.
Hey, coaches are coaches, right? And you take a look at the numbers, and they are shooting the ball extremely well. You see the 9 offensive rebounds. You see 5 of 8 beyond the three-point line. They're 7 from 8 from the free throw line. Oh, coaches are great. Which coach is ever happy, right? But he shouldn't be happy, right? He's just trying to figure out how to stretch this lead or how to maintain what they're doing.
Saw Dixon Tatum, 7 points, looking for 8 to lead his team.
Well, maybe okay if we have a softer, quieter Frank, but he's got that growth going on that face, man. That's like tough. Hey, big Chuck in the house.
Watching his alma mater. Right now, trailed by 7.
He could get a few rebounds.
Nice look inside. There goes Thornwell.
You always like to see what's the first offensive play when they come out of a timeout, and can they get some? Get a layup. Well executed.
KT Harold working on Darius Thornwell. Push off, offensive foul.
Let's watch the high screen. Took 2 guys and really lack of communication. If Harold got picked off, then Dixon Tatum has to switch. They've got to talk, and nothing happened. Solid screen up top. Well, Darius Thornwell, we keep talking about his freshman season on the offensive end, but boy, he's looking good defensively tonight. He's matched up with Denson and Harold, and has really shut both guys down.
Thornwell. Boy, he is going to be some kind of player.
Yep.
Williams elevates.
And a guy right in his face, and you have to be closer to a shooter to make him go around you.
He's 5'11". He got that off the 6'9" Matt Attaway.
And what happens when you have good shooters, much like Harold just did, once they're in a rhythm, you're almost too late because they'll release it quickly. Look at that. What a play.
Again? Yes, sir. Brenton Williams.
What a terrific pass. Brian Steele runs the floor. Probably could have taken a tough layup attempt. But what Williams does best of all is he spots up to where he's open. And watch how quickly he gets this shot off. He goes around the screen, and you're too late because the release is too quick. And someone will say, yeah, but that doesn't make sense. No, great shooters just release it in a hurry. This one he can take his time. Same release, a little smoother, and he is on a serious roll. 4 of 5 beyond the three-point line. Put in his 4 free throws with him. He's got 16 points.
And this goes back to his last game of the regular season at Mississippi State, where he hit 7 of 14 from behind the arc. So he's got 11 threes in less than a game and a half. And between he and Dwayne Notice, they're putting on quite a show.
Well, like any great shooter, he makes a couple. He's going to be looking. And the one thing South Carolina has done well is they've found him now when he's open. And Harold, who just hit the last one, he's hit a couple of bombs. He'll look for the next one as soon as he can find it.
Harold off the back of the iron.
You can always tell when shooters start searching.
Chinnis can't handle the pass. Auburn will take over, down a dozen.
And there's 2 things. Probably should have caught it, and Thornwell made a great pass. But if Thornwell hits up the side of the floor to Williams, Williams can make that pass easier. It's easier for the bigger guy to catch it from the side. Plus, they're going to run at Williams because he's knocking him in.
South Carolina had 7 turnovers in the first 8 minutes, but since that time, they've only coughed it up twice. Harold off the iron, steal the rebound. Off to Sindarius Thornwell. And a timeout taken by South Carolina with 1:18 to go before the break. And speaking of the break, our host for the next few days, Dari Noka's on the C Spire halftime set. Tell us what's coming up, Dari.
All right, guys, coming up on the C Spire halftime report, Barry Booker, Joe Dean Jr. join me. Tell you how South Carolina, it looks like they're on their way to avenging 2 losses against Auburn earlier this season. At least it's a very good start. They'll tell you why. We'll look ahead to the second game of the night, of course, Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. And Barry Booker's bold second half predictions. Not of the season, that's already happened, but of the game, guys. See you at halftime.
All right, Dari, thank you very much. Maybe a look at our bracket. Coming up after this game, about 25 minutes or so, at the conclusion of Auburn, South Carolina, we'll see Vanderbilt and Mississippi State. And tomorrow the action gets started at 1 o'clock Eastern time with Missouri and Texas A&M. Arkansas awaits the winner of this game. Brad Nessler, Jimmy Dykes will have the call for you on that game. And then John and I will be back for the evening session. To go before the break. Shot clock sits at 21 seconds. Here's Williams with the hot hand. 4 out of 5 behind the arc. Thornwell working on Payne. Lower the shoulder, offensive foul. We've seen that 3 or 4 times tonight. The offensive player dipping that shoulder.
First time Thornwell might have really forced the issue. He's kind of let it come to him. He's a big-time scorer. He's got only 4 points, only taken 5 shots. That might have been the first time that he thought, I got to get something here.
10 assists on 12 made baskets for South Carolina.
Well, one of our keys was, can they be efficient? Can they shoot it at a good percentage, and can they not turn the ball over?
Johnson Dean off the mark.
To Frank Martin, he would say, we need a rebound and another offensive board for Auburn. They could run this thing down to, well, nearly the buzzer. A second difference.
So here's Johnson Dean, the freshman.
And he's been playing 0 for 4 from the field in the first half. Good outside shooter, crafty, fast, gets to the rim.
Tatum spins with the left hand, triples off the iron.
Got time.
Williams launches. Off the mark. Almost knocked that one home, but regardless, a huge first half for Brenton Williams, the senior, trying to keep his season going. Finishes with 16 big first half points, and South Carolina heads to the locker room up 12. When we come back,
stepped up, and again, let's go to Denson. The more aggressive he is, the more there will be openings for other guys. He has got to attack. And it may look like a forced shot and a bad shot, but when you average 20 a game, sometimes you have to do that and put it on your shoulders to get it going.
You know, he's been a little bit up and down the last week or so. And Tony Barbie's talked about he's really trying to press, force the issue, knowing that the senior is wrapping up his career at Auburn. And actually went into Coach Barbie's office a few days ago. They talked about it, trying to get his game back. Because you need Chris Denson to be the Chris Denson that finished second in the conference in scoring, just under 20 points a game.
South Carolina on that first possession. Now you got a 5-second count. Carrera didn't get the ball inbounds, but first possession they pounded it inside and got a foul on Harold. It's that. Not happy from that bench. Understandably so. 5-second count shouldn't happen. You always have a timeout to use if you're a player. That's what you like to see. Make or miss, if he's aggressive, it changes the game. You saw 3 Gamecock jerseys go after Denson when he went to the rim.
Carrera picked up 2 early fouls, set most of that first half. Gets the start here in the second half. Denson off to Shamsin Dean. Thornwell blocked that shot, knocked out of bounds. It'll belong to South Carolina.
Well, Thornwell's been the guy on the defensive end. We've always talked about him offensively, but that first half he was so good defensively, makes the block. Shamsuddin awfully quiet in that first half.
Dodge, no points, 0 for 5 from the field. Here's Thornwell. Off to Henry. Now Brent Williams. Shot clock hits 10. Thornwell. Henry. Got it, gets it inside. Chinnis will kick it back to Carrera. He'll fire for 3. Got it with 1 second on the shot clock.
We've had 3 possessions that ended really at the buzzer with a 3-point shot.
Well, Denson taking it to the basket. Carrera gets hit with the foul.
Picks up his 3rd personal foul and has not had many minutes in this ballgame.
Denson with those 2 points. He's trying to pass Charles Barkley on the scoring list. 23rd in Auburn history. Sir Charles is sitting right behind the Auburn bench.
But you'll watch when it swings to him, very reluctant to take that 3.
Boy, there are a few bigger Auburn Tiger fans than that guy right there. He just watched this Tiger team kind of slug through the first half here.
He's thinking, I'd get 55 in a game like this against these guys.
Not much.
That was one, and I got to play in the NBA when Charles was playing. I'm a couple years older, but that is one guy, and maybe I'd list 5 that I would pay a ticket to go see when he came to town. Really. The effort, the way he played. There were a few games he was probably a little tough on the fans on the sideline. So now most time I would shoot that.
Right. Good defense by John over here. Charles Barkley. You know, you mentioned the one word that as soon as you said his name, effort. And I think, he's outspoken about the NBA game right now. He says it's not a great game. And
Well,
I think a lot of it has to do with the effort.
he understands it. I think he understands the fact that the rules should change from one and done to either out of high school or stay 3, give it a certain age. It would help the collegiate game. It would really help the NBA game.
Tony Barber takes a timeout. South Carolina has opened this one up. It's 44-26, and they have done it by the 3 ball. They are 9 out of 13 behind the arc. Thornwell gets that one. Timeout on the floor. Back in a moment. Boy, South Carolina, Brenton Williams getting it done. They lead it by 18 here in the second half. Long way to go, though, 17-31. Auburn looking for their first basket here of the second half. 2.5 minutes off the clock. Canada now at the point. Here's Payne. Off to Denson. There you go. I mean, that's what he does, and if he can continue to do that, that'll be a way to get Auburn back in it.
Yeah, but he's making it difficult, David. Now, here's why I'll say it. He came off, and he's about at 8 feet, and I think there's a shot there. What he's doing then is taking it into 2 big guys. He got the call, got the whistle, but he's 6'2", and if you go inside like that and they don't blow the whistle, that's another miss. When he curls, he's got about a 6 to 8 footer. He's got a soft touch. He's got to be confident enough to take that, but obviously not confident. Missed that free throw there. He's just got to get it going. The team relies on him to score, and if not, then Harold's got to start taking more shots.
He's coming off a 19-point performance in the season finale and a win against Texas A&M. Also had 7 rebounds in that game.
Full court pressure, remember, handled easily in the first half because they put Williams down in the corner, the shooter, and they could release it. Get it to half court, you turn and fire. That time Notice missed it. Had it, didn't throw it.
And another whistle. Denson heading back to the free throw line.
Foul charge to Sedarius Barkley. His second personal foul.
Well, Denson's a marked man, and every night out, teams try to bottle him up and make him give the ball up. Reluctant to shoot the three, doesn't shoot it a lot. When he drives, usually 2 or 3 guys around him, makes it difficult to finish. The last 2 possessions, though, he has picked up contact, and if he can get to the free throw line, you chip away at this lead, and the clock doesn't move.
Leads the conference in free throw attempts. Out of Columbus, Georgia, the second team All-SEC performer. He's trying to get it going. He's had great success against South Carolina in Auburn's 2 wins. Canada was standing on the sideline. Joe Lindsay, good look at it. South Carolina will have the basketball, but Denson's averaged 23.5 points in the 2 games against South Carolina.
Yeah, he had the 25 and the 22, and they really couldn't stop it.
There's Williams, and that pressure again from Auburn. We'll probably see this the remainder of the game for the Tigers. Trying to get back in it. Down 15 points at half. They trailed by a dozen, 38-26.
And think of where the confidence, though, of this South Carolina team. They won 2 of their last 3. They knocked off Kentucky. They won on the road at Mississippi State to end the season. But, you know, anytime you start winning, you win a home game again against someone named Kentucky, students rush the floor, and then you win your last game, your only win on the road, but it's the last one you played. There's a bit of confidence for this ball club. They've executed well on the offensive end. They've got the ball to the shooters open, and they've made shots. They've delivered.
Going well. Chinnis gets bumped again, this time on the way up. And that one will go against Attaway. That'll be his second, and that'll send Mindaugas to the free throw line. A sophomore out of Lithuania. Oh, he has 9 rebounds. He has been solid on the backboard.
And has been used mostly on that offensive sets as a screener. Setting a lot of screens, rolling, and then re-screening. And using him for his ability at times, he can slip a screen offensively, attack the rim. He's been a pretty good force inside the paint tonight for Frank Martin.
I mean, he averages 5 rebounds a game. Here's Canada off to KT Harold. Now Denson. And a foul against South Carolina. That will go against Thornwell, and that'll be his 3rd.
Third straight possession. Taking it to the rim, taking it hard. Trying to find the gaps. Back to the free throw line.
30% of his points come at the free throw line. He is 8th in the country in free throws attempted. Matter of fact, he has set a school record for free throws attempted. 3rd in Auburn history in free throws made.
Well, closing in on over 1,200 points. What a career he's had. Been fun to watch.
There's a whistle against Auburn underneath. That will go against Allen Payne. That'll take us to a timeout. Game that certainly will be remembered for Coach John Calipari being thrown out. shirt untucked. You knew it was going to be a rough night for the Cats as South Carolina knocks off 17th ranked Kentucky in their own building. The fans storm the court, celebrating their first win over the Cats since 2010. 72-67 the final score. Brenton Williams led the way for the Gamecocks with 24 points. He was 15 out of 16 at the free throw line.
Yeah, nothing more than a coach wants for his young team to experience what can happen as you work and build and all the effort you put in and you get a result. And you could see the faces on those players. And you take a look, 2 of the last 3 in that Florida game, it was a 2-point game at half. And then Frazier went off from the 3-point line. And Florida ran away with that game. But got a young team starting to win, starting to learn, starting to understand.
You know what I liked about that win by South Carolina? It's the school president, Dr. Harris Pastides. Once he realized that the university was going to get fined for rushing the court, he said, "You know what? We're already going to get fined. Why don't I just go down there and enjoy it too?"
Might as well have some fun.
Right, that's what he said.
I understand what he's thinking. I think they should. Students have fun. Matchup 2-3 zone defense.
Canada high off the backboard. That was knocked out of there. They're going to say it went through the cylinder, but
it went through. It was in the net. Almost thought Payne knocked it out.
I think it was Payne.
But it was already through. South Carolina went 2-3 zone to eliminate probably, let's see, whose hand that was.
I think that was Payne that got his hand on that. Cuts it to 14.
Again, the 2-3 zone to eliminate drives, and then they allowed the drive in the bucket. And the steal, how quickly it can change and momentum can change.
Really the first time this pressure's caused South Carolina some issues. Almost got another turnover. Notice out of control. Steele coming off a couple of screens. Now back to Kachinis.
Ball fake.
Kevicius. And a foul against Dixon Tatum. That'll be his third.
Might have been a Payne on the reach.
Payne, right.
And
That'll be his third.
And what frustrates a coach, you don't need to reach.
At the line with 2 shots is Lamonis Akevicius.
Looked like Dixon Tatum thought the foul was on him too, and he finally got the explanation it wasn't on him. And he said, "Oh, okay." So Hakevicius, 6'11", 250-pounder, just a sophomore, another Lithuanian. And Kachinis from the same country. Boy, he had 3 big baskets down the stretch for South Carolina in that win over Kentucky. Shamsuddin back on the floor. Canada to the Auburn bench.
In the matchup zone, they've got to get to Harold. They're trying to eliminate the fact that the free throw line is where Auburn has lived in this second half because this guy is going to the bucket. It's another 2 free throws.
And Steele swipes Denson across the side of the face, trying to block that shot. So once again, Denson to the free throw line.
Hard foul. Denson maybe have wanted more than that, but he's experienced a few whacks to the head as much as he drives the basketball to the rim.
Denson 5 out of 7 at the free throw line. And with that free throw, Chris Denson just moved ahead Charles Barkley for 23rd in Auburn's all-time scoring list. Wonder if Chuck knows he's down to 24 now.
I'm not sure he loses any sleep over that number.
He might. Well, he has had spent a lot of time at Atlanta.
That's a lot of points right there.
Here goes Notice back the other way. Blocking foul underneath on Dixon Tatum. And Auburn has quietly got this down to 12. They were down 18 with 17 and a half minutes to go here in the second half. But
well, and think how they've done it. They've been aggressive. It's been Denson who's been aggressive at attacking, and they've been to the free throw line. Now Kachenis goes to the line for South Carolina. It's becoming a whistle at both ends of the floor as both teams attack each other.
Well, they're getting some good quality minutes out of Mendogas. Kachenis, last 4 games, shooting 76% from the field. He's 13 out of 17. Tonight, he has put up 9 rebounds, looking for his 5th point. Playing a lot of minutes. Had 13 points in their season finale against Mississippi State. Also had 9 boards in that game. He's one of those guys that's gotten a lot better.
Yeah, from last year to this year and during this season.
Harold won't go, and there's the 10th rebound for Kachenis.
That's where the Gamecocks have been pretty good at when they push. They're pretty patient at not forcing the shot unless a guy like Brenton Williams is wide open to shoot it. Pull it back out, run offense. Auburn's had a hard time with guarding for 35 seconds. They've been pretty good at 34 seconds.
Well, they have put the clamps on. Brenton Williams doesn't have a point here in the second half.
Good block.
5th block of the night for the Auburn Tigers. A.T. Harold bumped before the shot.
This is what a good shot blocker can do. Kind of weak side, they love to come across. Frank Martin wanted contact there. That's where a lot of great shot blockers can get that block. Dixon Tatum, one of those good shot blockers in the SEC.
He is 4th in the conference. Actually, give him 5 tonight. So it's 62 blocks on the year. A.T. Harold gets a screen from Payne, but Payne was moving in the process. Tony Barbie didn't like it. And South Carolina will have the basketball. And that is the 4th on Payne. And now he will head to the bench. Jordan Granger steps onto the floor now for Auburn. 13:25 to go. Timeout taken by Frank Martin. Had the ear of Joe Lindsey right in front of the bench. And if you're Frank Martin, you know, it had to be difficult last Saturday not to be with your team. And obviously a situation occurred on the bench with him getting after one of his players, and it was caught on camera, and it's the world in which we live in. And he's admitted that he was a little overzealous in the way he handled the discussion. But from a player standpoint, you mentioned Norm Stewart, who you played for at Missouri, another guy that's kind of direct. But from a player standpoint, don't you kind of expect that a little bit?
I think you do. Players want to be coached. Now, each coach has a different personality, and the players here, and I got to see Frank Martin work quite a bit at Kansas State. The relationship between players and coaches, even a guy like Frank Martin, was pretty close. Those players love playing for him, and they expect to be better, and he expects them to be better. And that timeout, that, you know, he went after him pretty good there.
Yeah.
Because they're not in the right spots. It's a teaching thing. You want to keep getting better. And when guys aren't in the right spot, and let's face it, you got 18 to 22-year-olds sometimes that aren't listening. We're all parents to some kids. They don't listen, and if you're trying to get their attention, maybe the only way you can get it is by maybe raising your voice or two, and Frank Martin does that. But that's his passion. And again, it's not surprising when he showed up at South Carolina that that's what he brings, because that's who he is.
Well, was there some offensive goaltending here from Hadkevicius? Was this ball going to drop back in? Take another look. Guess we'll never know.
No, I had maybe a chance, but I think it would come out. But you'd ask your player and say, don't you think you'd give it a chance?
Yeah, right, exactly.
No, again, I've seen Frank Martin work. You like watching him work. And I think players understand. Here's how I always figured it. when you're playing for a tough coach, when he's not yelling at you, you got to think something's wrong with the old man, right? Something's not quite right with the coach today. And I'll go back, all players that play for tough coaches, what a coach wants is when they're juniors and seniors, that they are like him.
Right.
They are tough.
Jeff, your thoughts about the Frank Martin situation?
Yeah, I've known Frank Martin since he was an assistant at Northeastern, guys, and I've never seen him as down as he was when I talked to him shortly after the incident he got suspended. Extremely remorseful. He went this past weekend to a cheerleading competition for his 8-year-old daughter, turned off his phone. They went to Tennessee, and he said, I was in a really quiet place. Then he turned it on the way back home. He was lifted up by all the voicemails, all the calls he got from guys like Bob Huggins, like Andy Kennedy, John Calipari, Billy Donovan, Bill Self. They all reached out to him, and he said it made him feel good about the fact that there was still some support in the coaching community for him.
I think all coaches certainly can understand the situation he was in. And it's unfortunate, but I think it's, as he said earlier in a quote given to you, Jeff, that he's trying to improve every day, and that's just one aspect he's working on right now.
Coaches are teachers, and this is their classroom every day. He would love it that there wasn't a camera on him at all times. He's emotional. He's passionate.
The many faces of Frank Martin. I mean, it is intense. There is no doubt about it. And to reiterate, you know, he is passionate about the game of basketball, but you and I have the chance, and a lot of people, and Jeff Goodman can, respond to this as well, is the fact the person he is away from the competition, it's hard not to like him.
And how great he's been. When he was at South Carolina or at Kansas State, he was great for Kansas State University and the Big 12 Conference. The same, he's been good at South Carolina and for the city of Columbia and for this conference. He promotes it, he sells it. I can recall when he had that team that won in the Sweet 16, Elite Eight with Jacob Pullen, and Jacob Pullen, one of the great guards at Kansas State and in the country that year. Jacob Pullen could run practices, and at times, Dave, he'd look at Frank when Frank was yelling, and Jacob would say, Frank, I've got this. Meaning he would then take over the leadership role as a point guard, as a senior, and Frank Martin's trying to build that into a place that was down on wins, and he's got to bring a whole different feel to the South Carolina program.
And a foul underneath, that away, a loose ball foul, had Kevichus going for the rebound. Brenton Williams having an outstanding night here inside the Georgia Dome. He leads his club with 16 points on 4 3-pointers, and the Gamecocks lead at 52-40. Timeout. Take a look at our brackets. Winner of that game will move on to face Ole Miss in the late game tomorrow night. All the action will kick off tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern, Missouri and Texas A&M. And boy, the Tigers really coming off a game to conclude the regular season that hard pill to swallow for the Tiger fans, and kind of bumped them out of the picture as of right now for the NCAA tournament, but certainly you can play your way into it from this point forward.
Simple fact is you can win the tournament, you're in, right? Win the SEC championship, and you are in a rematch with A&M and Missouri that last Wednesday night went down to a 1-point ball game, won in Columbia by the Tigers. A&M led that whole game to the last 8 seconds.
6 points. Brad Kevichus to go along with his 4 rebounds.
Well, both coaches, I'm sure in the timeouts, have said, can we just play solid defense and quit putting the other team on the free throw line? It's become a free throw contest in the second half.
Both teams are 10 out of 12 at the line here in the second half. Both teams have only converted 2 field goals.
And both teams' focus is to attack, and Harold, instead of settling for the jump shot, which maybe he could have taken the jump shot, he kind of went into the big bodies trying to really get the whistle.
Shot swatted out of there by Auburn. I think Granger got a piece of that one. There'll be 19 on the shot clock.
Teaching points. You got a freshman point guard, 20 seconds left in the shot clock. He puts it on the floor, not the right time, didn't get to the rim. Fortunate for South Carolina, they got the ball back after the block. They've not been able to get Brenton Williams any shots in this second half.
Boy, tough drive.
What a finish.
Dwayne Notice will head to the free throw line to try to complete this.
And what a ball game, and how solid he's been at times for Frank Martin. The strength and the power to be able to finish this play. 6'2", but he's over 220 pounds. Big shoulders, solid body.
He now has 17 points, and that snapped a 6-minute and 20-second field goal drought for South Carolina. Lead is pushed back to 17.
And token pressure just to slow down Auburn a little bit, and then they get back to his own defense, and here comes Denson right again.
And it'll belong to South Carolina.
Good pass. Thompson just didn't catch it.
Tony Barbie trying to come up with some answers. Here's Williams inside, had it blocked. Thompson might have got a piece of that one. Here's Denson back the other way. Kicks it off to Shamsuddin. His three is perfect. Timeout taken by Auburn.
First hoop from outside, and he can't shoot it. A quick timeout to try to see if they can pick up that pressure again.
Well, that will leave the Tigers with but one timeout left, and there's 10:09 to go in the game. Tony Barbie trying to get some defensive guys on the floor. Deion Wade about to check in for the Tigers. If you're Tony Barbie, what's your message to your club right here? How do you get back in this thing? Do you continue to press? I mean, is that your only option defensively, or do you lay back?
I think it's all about pace of play. This has become now kind of a slow game in the fact that South Carolina is doing what they want to do on the offensive end. Shot clock's winding down. They're getting to the free throw line, controlling all of that. And what Auburn wants to do is disrupt all of that, disrupt them in the half-court set, and push and look for easy opportunities. They may not be there, but you've got to push.
Well, the edge to the game will look back at some of the things you pointed out to start this game and how they've turned out. South Carolina offensive efficiency, 42% from the field, 13 turnovers, kind of a high number, but they settled down. They had a bunch of turnovers in the first 8 minutes of this game.
The big number for South Carolina, 9 of 13 on the three-point line. When you do that, you're the great equalizer and maybe above that. And they've contained Denson, and Denson hasn't gotten going. Good pass.
Kevicius at 6'11", keeps it alive, goes back up, got fouled, and he'll head to the free throw line. Can't believe he missed a couple of layups.
Steele made a good find because they came off the screen, and big fella just stepped right inside. Didn't finish it, but he stayed with it. Maybe he can convert 2 free throws.
So the big fella, Lemonis, Kevicius, 56% foul shooter on the year, but 4 out of 4 today, make it 5 out of 5.
Pretty smooth. We talked about only being a sophomore, 6'11", 250. His progression since he's been in the South Carolina uniform.
Well, he's got 7 points, 6 rebounds today. He was scoreless in the first 2 games against Auburn, both Tiger victories this year. It looks silky smooth at the line. I believe he's 53% on the year. 56%.
Yeah, that doesn't look right. Doesn't match up numbers the way he shoots it.
Here's Denson into the lane and got the layup to go.
High screen against a 2-3 zone up top, and the speed of Denson and the ability to have Harold in the outside corner where he was driving. He had the low defender out in the corner defending. He split the seam, and it was an easy bucket, the easiest of the night for Denson.
Thompson gets the rebound. The other way, Shamsuddin off to KT Harold. Catch and shoot, too strong. Long rebound to Thompson. Now Denson spins left. Blocked by Kevicius. Good anticipation by Lemonis, knowing he's going to spin left into the paint.
Opportunities missed when you're coming back. Harold had a 3 open. Denson gets one blocked. You had a block on the defensive end. You have a chance to cut the lead. You didn't get it done. Now you got to guard again because South Carolina keeps running clock.
Kevich just wants the basketball on Dixon Tatum. Spins up and under move. Missed another layup. Notice now. And he's bumped, and he'll head to the free throw line. That Kevich is getting frustrated. He's missed a bunch of little gimmies.
And he's tired. I mean, he's been out there a lot of minutes on the defensive end, and he made the pump fake. And he didn't want to finish, though, with the left hand. If he finishes with the left instead of the right, the left's easier. He takes it with the right hand. Shoulders not to the rim, it's different. To the left, it turns his whole shoulders right to it. He lays it right over the front rim.
Number 2, Alan Payne, and number 41, Matthew Hadaway.
Well, notice racking up the points with 18. Brenton Williams still sitting on 16, has yet to score here in the second half. That's in and out. And offensive rebound, and guess what? Notice we'll have a three-point opportunity, but Kachinas is the one who kept it alive on the offensive backboard.
Kachinas has been active and aggressive, and on a missed free throw, when guys aren't paying attention, all they're doing is throwing an elbow there. He keeps it alive. Notice picks it up and lays it in with a foul. And again, every time you think Auburn might have a chance, they don't do it. Zadaway fouls out and makes a bad play at the free throw line.
No points, no shots, one rebound for the freshman of Ontario, Canada. His night is over. 8:10 to play in this one. Auburn is trailed by double figures. Last time it was in single digits was right around the 3-minute mark of the first half at 32-23. Other than that, South Carolina has been in double figures over Auburn. Baseline jumper by Payne is good. Here's Dwayne Notice. 20 points, 6 rebounds, a couple of assists for the freshman out of Ontario, Canada as well. I've seen a whole lot of Darius Thornwell as he's been saddled with some fouls. Got 7 points in this game. Notice steps back, buries it. I would say the young man is starting to feel it inside the dome a little bit.
How about his ball game? 20 points on the night, career high, 23 points.
His high was 19 against Texas A&M when he had 6 of 8 from the field.
And now he's 4 of 6 beyond the three-point line. 4 of 4, I should say. Comfortable running the offense. That was a step-back 3. Shamsuddin has not been able to put pressure on him to turn him over.
You know, physically, you look at Notice against Shamsuddin, and Dwayne's just not only taller, he's just,
Yeah, it's thick. That's a, you go 6'2" and 220, that's thickness.
Brenton Williams hangs in the air, off the window, won't go, and a little tie-up. Granger getting tangled up underneath with Demetrius Henry. See what the foul is. It's Tony Green talks to both players. But the story has been Dwayne Notice came in averaging under 8 a game. But the freshman with a career high, 23 in the first round of his first ever SEC tournament.
Knocked in threes when they played off him. And once, maybe anybody at this level, Division I, if you get your confidence going, what a special game he's had. 23 points, 4 of 4 beyond the three-point line. You see the numbers. Brent Williams was 16, all of them in the first half.
Our
Toyota has been terrific.
Our Toyota SEC leaders. Williams in the first half, Notice in the second half. As a matter of fact, between Notice and Hadkevicius, the last 13 points for this South Carolina team have come from the bench, and the bench production tonight for South Carolina has been outstanding. They lead Auburn 31-5.
Well, because of Notice, they maintained that lead with Carrera being out with foul trouble, Thornwell out with foul trouble, or 3 personal fouls. They sat out the last bunch of minutes. Brenton Williams has not been able to get his jump shot going. He's had to put it on the floor, not been able to finish at the rim.
Well has played 22 minutes in this game.
Jordan Granger, the 6'8" sophomore out of St. Louis.
You know, there's 6.5 minutes to go in this one. Thornwell's played a ton of minutes for you. If you're a South Carolina fan, I don't think you have a real big problem with his minutes being reduced here if you want to continue to play on in this tournament.
Well, I think that's why Frank Martin, they can keep him on the side. They've been playing well. They've maintained the big lead. Haven't had to have him on the floor. Coaches are never comfortable, but they probably feel good that they could maybe advance to tomorrow night. He walks in and nails another three. This team is absolutely lighting it up.
I mean, that's the understatement of the game in terms of three-point shooting. This is a club that is now 11 out of 15 from behind the arc, 73%.
Incredible.
I mean, here's a building that they're not familiar with.
Right? It's a dome. You're just out in the middle of nowhere as far as a player.
Right.
Backdrop's different. Auburn has been solid defensively. Shot clock winds down, and South Carolina seems to be able to jump up. No matter which one jumps up, knocks in a three.
At the line with 2 shots,
So Kevich is back at the free throw line. Some long faces on that Auburn bench as the clock winding down. This Auburn team is about to go down. If Kevich can hit a free throw here, go down 20. And he does.
And you're telling me he is 56%?
It's crazy, isn't it? But tonight,
that
not anymore.
He's 7 for 7 tonight.
Right,
but that stroke, he's comfortable up there.
He came in 13 out of 23 at the line, which is surprising for a guy 6'11" to only have 23 free throws.
Correct, not that many. Harold's been quiet this second half.
That's a baseline. Off the paint. Team Harold backs it out. KT. He has 11. Denson has 11. These two again leading the Auburn team, but not enough. Loose ball taken away by South Carolina. A little 3-on-2 break. Wayne Notice has it knocked out of his hands. It'll belong to the Gamecocks. Under 5 to play.
Tough part for Denson. He matched up in that 2-3 zone. Anytime he puts it on the floor, I mean, it's almost going into trouble. You're going into seams, but inside those seams of the zone, there's 2 or 3 guys, and there's active hands. They knocked it away that time.
Kicked out of bounds. It'll belong to the Gamecocks with 26 on the shot clock. At Kevichus. He has 9 points, 7 rebounds. Thornwell sits on 10 points. Carrera been in foul trouble most of the night. Gets it to Notice. Thornwell, little
nice
floater. Carrera fouled. He'll head to the free throw line.
That play made by the fact that Thornwell came off that screen hard. And so defense either had to switch, and if they don't switch, 2 guys jump at him, and he made the turn, made the easy pass. Carrera goes to the free throw line.
So Carrera at the free throw line this year, 63% at the line. How about South Carolina? They are now 16 out of 21 at the line this half.
Well, and here is another sophomore. We talked about Frank Martin's young team. Here's another sophomore. Got plenty of minutes as a freshman. We know he's kind of the bull out there. He can defend. He's aggressive. He can attack. Frank Martin's trying to work on Carrera's mental side of the game, not to get frustrated when things don't go his way. But yet another young, active body around the rim and can defend.
Canada had it ripped out of his hands. Notice again out in front. Floats in the air. That won't go. Tapped around. Thompson comes out of there with it. Boy, how many layups has South Carolina missed this half? Canada. His finger roll is good. And a timeout. Or an injured player on the baseline. Who is that? KT Harold slow to get up? I believe it is. Boy, and he holds that left ankle in the process. Well, we will check on the status of KT Harold when we come back. They are in complete control, and part of the reason is Dwayne noticed the freshman with a career-high 23 tonight, and the other reason is the senior, Chris Denson, second in the conference in scoring. He's had a tough night.
Yeah, the 2 ball games when they played regular season, 25 points and 22, and so he was a marked man tonight for South Carolina, and they did a good job. They bottled him up. They frustrated him. He couldn't get open looks. When he drove the basketball, he was surrounded by Gamecocks, and they knocked the ball away. And Dwayne noticed, you know what, these teams all know each other well, and who steps up in certain games and tournaments and makes plays that maybe you're not expected to. And Dwayne Notice has done it. 23 points. He's run the show. He's knocked in threes. He's made free throws. He's got 3 assists. He's got 7 rebounds. He's really done it all, and those are the things that happen in conference tournaments.
And Tevicius will get it back to Notice, and now South Carolina will just try to take as much of this clock away from Auburn as they possibly can. There's the tie-up. Williams.
Good find, good patience. He was trapped. Yeah, Williams was trapped. 2-3 zone on the first pass. He just trapped him. Stepped out of it, made the pass.
And he played. Senior, didn't panic.
Didn't panic. Good call there. And he surely wasn't going to panic in front of his head coach.
No.
He said, I
He did. Denson tried to hit the bounce pass to Granger. Instead, it works out pretty well for Denson. 3-point opportunity coming up.
Well, let's go back. When he makes that pass, there are 5 Gamecocks in there. I mean, they are all bundled up in the lane, and they've almost dared dared Auburn to make a shot out to kick it outside. Now they got fortunate; they finished it. Denson stayed with it. They got the ball back, but any bounce pass inside against that zone that's sagged in there, pretty tough to make.
KT Harold, after twisting that ankle, back on the floor. Saw it going to break, just stepped on a foot, twisted it the wrong way. Let's hope he's all right.
We'll see how he moves, especially, and he's hobbling, limping. I was going to say, as they've kind of put pressure, they'll make a pass and they'll trap.
Dwayne Notice. One of the few mistakes Dwayne has made tonight, traveled with the basketball. But Dwayne has been dynamite tonight. Impressive performance, to say the least. He has played 26 minutes, actually 27 minutes tonight.
And when you play that position, that point guard, your coach is toughest on the guys running the show. And you have to learn the most and understand your teammates and understand score and clock and what the coach wants and where your teammates can score and where they can't score and who gets the ball, when they get it, all those things. And at times you might get hollered at a couple times because it's a part of the understanding and learning. And Dwayne Notice is having his best game of the season in the SEC tournament and emerging as a solid leader for this Gamecock squad.
Good to see KT Harold with the basket. That's a 2-pointer. KT now with 13.
Look forward to seeing him next season. Terrific year this year. His first at Auburn after transferring from Virginia. Nearly 20 points a ball game, and he'll be back.
6th in the league in scoring, 2nd in free throw percentage. Matter of fact, KT Harold, 12 games over 20 points this year. As a proven, worthy, capable scorer.
Why not?
Notice. And South Carolina will reset it. We go under 2 minutes to go. Don't forget, coming up about 25 minutes at the conclusion of this one, it'll be the second game tonight. Vanderbilt and Mississippi State will go at it.
Commodores relying on the fact if they can make jump shots, they're awfully good. Tough to defend if they're rested and can do it.
Time for our Hardy star of the game, and I think that's a pretty easy conclusion. Dwayne Notice, 23 points. Going to wind up playing about 30 minutes tonight off the bench. 30 seconds to go. You wonder about the future of this Auburn program. What direction is it headed? Will Tony Barbie be on the bench next year? All questions to be discussed. Jay Jacobs has said over and over again, not commenting on that. Going to meet with the coach like he does every coach at the end of the season, discuss about this season, the direction of the program, and they'll figure things out.
Never easy, the coaching profession. Outside influence and forces going on around you. All you trying to do is coach your team.
Kevicius has seen about 12, 14 points go by the wayside because he can't make a layup. Finally got one to drop. That's a little bit of smile on his face, heading back the other way.
He's come a long way, but he's got a ways to go, you're saying, right? On that offensive end.
11 points, 9 rebounds for Lamonis.
He's logged some good minutes tonight and been very effective on the defensive end.
Now he's tied up, puts the ball on the floor, and that's a 10-second violation.
But don't blame it to him, because where are the guards?
South Carolina.
You know, we're speaking about Tony Barbie. For more on that, let's go to Jeff Goodman. Jeff.
I talked to Tony yesterday, and he said he feels like he's laid the foundation. He's not sure what the future holds for him at Auburn. Admitted year 3 didn't go nearly as well. They were 9-23. Year 4 been a lot better. He's got some guys sitting out. He's got a talented freshman coming in next year, Sam Logwood. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Tony Barbie after this game.
Yeah, you know, I think, Jeff, he's handled, I mean, he's been asked. I've been over Auburn a couple of times here the last few weeks, and after every game he gets asked the same question. How do you feel about your job security? Do you think you'll be here next year? And, you know, he's handled it well. He hasn't, you know, that can be one of those questions that can really get to you, but he has just said, I'll worry about the next game. So we'll see what will happen. But tonight it was all South Carolina. They rolled to this one. They got up by double figures around the 3-minute mark of the first half and just poured it on, and Frank Martin's club will move on.
Hey, they've won 3 of 4, and importantly, they get to play tomorrow night. Terrific by Frank Martin. His ball club played well, and notice was outstanding.
So South Carolina will now meet Arkansas in the second game tomorrow, beginning roughly 3 o'clock Eastern time. But coming up, it'll be some more SEC tournament action from the Georgia Dome as South Carolina wins this one 74-56, 23 points for Dwayne Notice. The first round of the SEC tournament continues as Vanderbilt faces Mississippi State. Thanks for watching this one. Now let's send it to the studio.